Hey guys, it's Merce. Welcome back to Harpies in the Trees. Today I'm going to talk to you about a book called Autumn Crow by Cameron Chaney. So I decided to pick up this book because I had been seeing it in a lot of different places in my feed. I do follow Cameron Chaney's booktube channel, so I did see it there. And then a few of the people that I follow and sometimes talk to, like Cammy's Korner, Regina's Haunted Library, and Jason's Weird Reads, who are people that I follow on YouTube. I also follow them on Instagram, and I do really love their recommendations. I'm curious, I've never actually read a book written by a booktuber or anything like that, so I didn't know what that would be like. But these are three people whose recommendations I constantly am looking at for new things to read, so I thought I'll just give it a try. I couldn't make the readathon, so I just ordered it. It came actually super fast. I think it was the fastest book that has ever arrived at my doorstep because I live here in Berlin, but I didn't make it for the readathon. However, I still enjoyed reading this all by myself. So this book is actually an anthology. It's about 8 stories, and they all take place in this one very special town called Autumn Crow. The stories range from romantic to playful, creepy, and sad. There's a whole entire gamut of feelings and emotions and atmospheres. Each story is unique to the others, and they all fit very, very well in this universe that's been created. My favorites were definitely Pumpkin Light, I Have No Mouth and I Must Feed, and CRYPT. Pumpkin Light is a light gothic story about a young girl who helps an old widow in her final wish. It's very sweet, it's very cozy, it's very stylized with a lot of color. I think there's a lot of just, like when I was reading it, I just felt like maybe just these like kind of hyper real autumn colors were just kind of flooding and coming into my mind when I was reading this story. I Have No Mouth and I Must Feed is a really awesome story about a staff that works at a haunted house attraction in Autumn Crow, of course. And there is one employee who's sort of disgruntled and just really not happy about the way things are going. But there's also someone else out there who's looking to change things up, I guess we could say. This story was definitely creepy and a little gory, and it definitely has these kind of sci-fi elements in there. I think this one was I felt was the strongest story, in the sense that I felt that there was kind of a lot going on. It could be translated into like a longer story for sure. CRYPT was also really awesome. It's definitely an ode to Creepshow and shows like that. It was really, really rad. I just really enjoyed reading this story. It starts off with a young boy who is very disappointed that he's not going to be where he wants to be for Halloween, which is in Autumn Crow. His family actually moved to another town, which is like one town over, and he's just really disappointed. He wanted to spend Halloween there, and now what is he going to do? He has no friends here. It's not the same. Autumn Crow is totally different, and he finds a way to have a great Halloween. I'll just say that. But it's really cute, it's cozy, it's creepy, it's funny, and it just has like most of the stories in here, it just has this atmosphere of like this really thick atmosphere of Halloween, and kind of like how you experienced Halloween as a kid. How Halloween always had this feeling of like anything could happen, that you might discover something, you might find something extraordinary, you might, get the biggest piece of candy you've ever had, or you might actually run into a ghost in the graveyard. It feels like on Halloween, it always feels like it's alive, and it feels like anything could happen. And a lot of these stories carry on with that feeling, where I think actually all of them do. They all have this, everything is possible in Autumn Crow. There's something very special about Autumn Crow, just in the town itself, the way it looks and the way it feels. I mean, it's just literally like it's a harvest moon like every day or something there. I really enjoyed that all of these stories, even though they're very unique and they're very different, they are all connected in very small threads. So you might have a character from one story kind of maybe their name just popping up in another story. So all of the stories are very connected, and you get to kind of learn about these different people who exist in this town through these stories. And it's really cool, really, really cool. It's written with a lot of love. It's definitely an ode to Halloween. So it's a niche book. So if you were a kid who loves Halloween and that's kind of always stuck with you throughout your whole entire life, like me, like obviously the author and like other people, you're gonna feel that here. And it has that feeling. It's like almost like, it sort of felt like when I used to read those books, like when I was in kindergarten or first or second grade or something or whatever, where I would read the books on Halloween and I just have this like special feeling, which is I can't really describe it. I remember when I was in first grade, there was a party at one of the parents that were throwing, and the whole class got to go. And we all huddled in this little dark room, and there were all of these jars and bowls and containers and stuff. And we would have to walk up to one, and then like one of the adults would be like, and this is the eyes of a dead man, you know, and it would be frozen grapes. And the next one would be like worms squirming in his stomach, and it would be spaghetti. But like as a kid, as you're touching it, you know, and it's so tactile, and the adults are like, oh, those are worms, or those are eyes. It was just so much fun. And there's just something about that. I think that you'll never really experience that in the same way. So I think with books like these, they kind of bring back those good memories, and you get to explore this sort of playful, creepy, but still kind of cozy stories. It does drop some really cool references in here as well. Some books, some movies, some other stuff. Chaney did mention really briefly In a Dark, Dark Room, and I was like, oh, yes, because that was the book that introduced me to horror when I was just a little tiny bat. So that was my first intro, so that was a nice thing to see. Earlier this year, I was introduced to an author called Darcy Coates by STACY'S Stories, and I think the first one I read was The Haunting of Ashburn House, and the second one was Craven Manor. I did love them both. The Haunting of Ashburn House to me was the better one, but Darcy Coates has many other books that she has written that I've not read yet. But I would definitely describe these as cozy, creepy cozy. It's creepy, but it's cozy. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it. Like, it's sort of like creepy, but kind of wholesome at the same time, maybe. And you know, sometimes they have like these feel-good endings or whatever. But I would definitely describe Darcy Coates as this cozy, creepy cozy. Autumn Crow to me also has that same feeling. And I know this is kind of a niche thing. I mean, I also love like, you know, balls to the wall, you know, knife to your throat kind of like horror books as well. Like I do appreciate those, and I do like that kind of stuff. So I guess it's like sort of a sub-genre that I guess I'm finding that I like a lot. So again, Autumn Crow is definitely a niche book for people who love Halloween or spooky tales, or you know, if you like Darcy Coates, or you're into this like cozy, creepy kind of vibe, or you know, you just like short stories about interesting people living in an interesting, strange town. This is definitely gonna make your day. So I don't really know how to rate an anthology because I feel like, you know, each individual story is sort of its own little microcosm, but I guess I can say that all of the stories fit together really, really well. There is a last story at the end of this book called There Are Monsters Here, and I think that this is a short story that Chaney produced before this book came out, so it's just something that got added into this anthology. So except for that one story that wasn't written to be part of this anthology, it still feels like it lives in the same universe. I enjoyed it. It's a niche book. It's a Halloween extravaganza, and I liked it. So definitely 5 stars. So that was my review for Autumn Crow by Cameron Chaney. I hope you had a really great holiday, and thanks for spending time with me tonight. I'll talk to you next time.